Okay, so before we go out and shoot this shell, I was going to show you a couple of options for achieving that. Option number one is we can use a visco fuse, which is a slow burning fuse typically. We stick that down in our quick match, tape it in place, and then we just hand light it. This gives us time to get away from the shell before it ignites. So that is one option. Okay, another option that we're going to use is using what we call an E-match, and it's just an electronic fireworks igniter. And the end of this is coated with an explosive composition that just causes a spark when it's ignited. It's covered with a shroud that you should always leave in place because these are sensitive to friction. And here's how we use these as far as attaching to our quick match. Now, on this particular quick match, the sleeve of it, the outer casing is so tight that it's hard to get the shroud down inside it. So what we will typically do, and everybody does this a little bit different, we will cut the paper back and so we can expose the black match. We're going to lay our fuse in there. Just fold the paper over. We're going to fold this up. So the end of this match, E-match, is directly in contact with the black match. So when that goes off, it ignites the black match. And so the way I close these is I'll put a wrap around them, and then I'll do a little loop, go back over and just tighten it. And then if you want to, if you don't trust that, then you can also put a little tape on it, but that typically has no issues there holding that in place. Okay, and in the field with all these wires going around, you also need to tie this off somewhere to your rack typically, so that when this goes off it doesn't rip out the panel of your electronic firing system. But that is how we would attach an E-match, or one way of doing that. Now the other end of these, which I have shunted because I have them wrapped together, is the two exposed wires. And there's a couple of different kinds of firing systems for these. A cheap method is you can buy these little Chinese firing systems, and you have it come, well, the particular one I had, they come with 4 of these little panels that you can hook up to 4 E-matches to. You've got your little firing system here, and this one is actually set up as number 1, so when I hit the number 1 on A, it's going to set this off, number 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 as we go. And then so we can have up to 12 cues, they called it, 12 different E-matches fired with this little guy. And so if you're doing a larger show, you know, you can have several of these little firing systems and just switch to B when you go to the next, you know, dozen of them. So anyway, that is a cheap method, and it works good. I mean, it's, you know, it's pretty good. You kind of need to be in the line of sight when you set this off, but it has a good range on it. So anyway, that is a cheap option if you want to electronically fire. Okay, a more common method that everybody, at least backyard people do, backyard shows, is a Cobra firing system. These are very, very popular. Now, this is not a Cobra using video. This I'm not going to actually go through and show you how to fire it with this, but with this system, you have a handheld unit, and your modules out in the field look like this. And this particular one has what we call 18 cues, and so I could hook 18 E-matches up to this panel, and this control knows which panel you're firing, and you push the button and it corresponds to the number on your panel here. And you simply attach these wires, which I usually bend these back. And there's two sides to each of these little cues. You bend the sides back, stick your match in there. Stick your match in there, or your wire. And that is how you would hook this E-match up and fire that. So that is a very common method that people use. So these E-matches, there are some available now that you do not have to have a license to buy. There's also kits where you can buy the wires and mix up the material and dip the ends of these in yourself to create these. So there's methods of getting these. And if you want to do a pyro musical, you really need this sort of thing because you can't hand light everything. So that is how we're going to fire our shell tonight. And that's, these are the most two common ways to do that. All right, so next we'll go ahead and fire the shell. Okay, one other thing I was going to show you about loading these shells in the tubes is a lot of these tubes come with holes already drilled in the side. And if you are shooting these with Visco, you can actually, when the shell's loaded, stick your Visco through the hole here, pull your quick match through, and usually you'll put the cap back on top of this until you're ready to fire. And that'll keep this in place. You can also, if you don't have holes, you can lay this out over the top, put a rubber band around to hold it in place. Now, another little trick here with if we were doing E-match. So if we're doing E-match and it's down in your mortar like that, bend your wire here, or double it over, stick it through the hole like that, and then take this end and just simply wrap around here a couple of times. Now, when you're breaking down a show, this is easy to hold to and just give it a few quick little twist with your wrist, and these will pop right out. This will prevent this from, when the shell goes off, pulling this other end out of your firing system. So that is a little trick there for loading these. So this is one of my 5-inch tubes. Okay, now let's go fire it.